Hello and welcome to our monthly free webinar, I call it. So I'm Patty Scott, and I am the president and founder of Hypnosis Incorporated. Unlimited Possibilities Hypnosis Incorporated is the long name. And I also have the Hypnosis Institute, which is the training part of my company. And I've been doing these 1 hour mini webinars, I call them, once a month. Third Wednesday of each month, 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern, US and Canada. And I've been doing, several years now, because there's a whole bunch of them on YouTube. And I've been doing so much training lately. I got several months worth of ones I haven't even edited to get on YouTube yet. So I'll have a whole bunch of those to have fun editing in the middle of the night, which seems to be when I do these things, stay up all night. So anyway, welcome everybody that's here, and hopefully we'll have a few more people because I know I had a lot of RSVPs. We're going to be talking about the ELMAN induction in a way that a few years ago, because of COVID and everything starting to go online, I developed a way to do it online so that I could teach my my hypnotherapy certification students the ELMAN induction, as if there is a ELMAN induction, which I always thought was kind of interesting. Do you know the ELMAN induction? It's like, well, if he was around and you asked him that, he'd say, what are you talking about? I do inductions all the time, all different kinds of inductions, right? But there's one that has been attributed to Dave ELMAN ever since I've been around. So we'll talk about that in a minute. First, I want to do introductions. I've been in practice, by the way, it'll be 34 years in February. And before that, I was studying it for 20 years, and I was in show business. And I will bring that up briefly, only because it's relevant once we start talking about Dave ELMAN. So let's see since it's a short webinar, just your name first, if you want to give us your last name. I do a roster. This is also a chapter meeting for IACT and HEA. So just your name and where you're coming to us from, please. You could just quickly also say if you're a hypnotist or if you have some other interest here, if you're licensed or if you're just showing up to have a good time and learn something.
My name is Barbara Austin. I am a board certified hypnotherapist, Michael Watson, and a certified stress management consultant, Michael Watson, and NLP practitioner, Will Horton. And I live in Gilbert, Arizona.
So you got some really excellent training there between Will Horton and Michael Watson. Oh my goodness. Woo.
Yeah, don't forget Patty Scott.
Oh, well, thank you. Oh, I feel honored to be in that group there.
Ray Miramontes. I'm currently in San Diego, California. I am a board certified hypnotherapist, and I do have medical certification through Patty Scott, the one and only. It was a great course and recommended to anybody and everybody.
My name is Jerry, and the reason I don't give my last name is I work with anonymous types of work. And so last names are kept out. I'm in Tampa Bay, Florida, and I have lots of experience as a pastoral counselor, lots of modalities, lots of NLP. And Laura invited me to come back here tonight. I didn't realize it was the same one I'd been with you on a month ago, but I don't know anything about this technique you're teaching, and it sounds great.
Wonderful. I'm happy to see you again, and I will respect absolutely that anonymity, and I will do my best to remember next time I see you that is part of the deal here. Laura, you want to go next then? Thank you for inviting Jerry.
Absolutely. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and I just got certified in IEMT, Integral Eye Movement Technique. Love it. I'm in New Zealand.
Welcome back, New Zealand. Boy, we get them from everywhere.
I'm Faith from West Palm Beach, Florida. I'm certified hypnotist and just finished Patty's medical hypnotherapy course. And love learning from you, Patty. So here I am.
A member of IAC, hypnotherapist from Puerto Rico, a student of hypnotherapy. I'm not currently practicing, but I'm keeping current. Eventually, I will be using this professionally.
I'm Jan. I live in Loxahatchee, which is just outside of West Palm Beach. I'm certified through IMDHA, stress management consultant, Reiki, chakra balancing. Yeah, I'm looking to start my own business.
Okay, well, welcome all of you. If anyone else comes, they'll just have to catch up with us. A real quick chapter meeting. Let's get on to what we're here for. Dave ELMAN. Dave ELMAN, how many people in here are familiar with the ELMAN induction as it has been taught for a long time? Okay, kind of heard of it. Maybe you've heard of Dave ELMAN, perhaps. The book, some people call this the Green Book. Hypnotherapy by Dave ELMAN. Yeah, there you go. It's been around for, everybody hold up your book. It's been around forever. Actually, it's been around, I can be more specific. It's been around since 1977. I was on the road with a band back in my showbiz days. So some of you weren't even born yet, I'll bet. So there you go. That's how that works. Dave ELMAN, it's interesting because I came from 20 years of show business until I got into the field of hypnotherapy almost 4 years ago. So I used to joke around about when I was younger, because I always loved old music that was before I was born. And my dad used to say, you should have been in vaudeville. Now, some of you may not even have an idea what vaudeville is, but it was the circuit. You'd go out and you'd play these theaters all over the country, kind of like I did in my 30s when I started doing theater. A little different though, a little more classy, I think, than it was in those days. But anyway, Dave ELMAN, he was in vaudeville. He was in vaudeville. He also was a songwriter. Some of you may know I was a songwriter in my 30s when I was working out of Nashville, Tennessee, and Reba McEntire recorded one of my songs. And some other people you never heard of, including myself. He also he was in radio. Dave ELMAN was in radio. So he was a performer. A lot of the people and almost everybody who had the hypnosis organizations who had them running when I first got into this in 1992, most of them were stage hypnotists. They all came from the world of entertainment. So anyway, that's a little background that some people don't realize about Dave ELMAN. His son, Larry ELMAN, how many of you got the pleasure of meeting or doing a class or an online thing with Larry ELMAN? Because he was older by the time I met him. And I don't know if you're aware, but he did just die last month. I don't know if anybody knew that. So Dave ELMAN's son, Larry ELMAN, died actually August 26th, just last month. So, and I had the opportunity many times to meet him, to interact with him, to be with him in trainings. I actually, when I was the president of the Hypnosis Education Association just a few years ago, just maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I invited him. I came up with the idea of doing a series called Living Legends, because I started noticing as I got into my 70s, late 60s and early 70s, that most of my great teachers and mentors were gone. And there were still a lot of the older people around, or the more seasoned people. So I thought, what better person to be the very first one to do a series called Living Legends than Larry ELMAN, Dave ELMAN's son. So I did, I think it was about a 4-hour video training with him. Unfortunately, something happened. My computer had crashed after that, and I had to switch computers. And I'm so sorry to hear, and I was reminded when I heard that he died last month, that those videos are lost forever, unfortunately. I'm very sorry about that. But anyway, had the chance to get to know him. He was a very good hypnotist. He was a very intriguing man and a very entertaining gentleman to be in a room with for any space of time, if you ever had the pleasure. Dave ELMAN wrote a book in 1956, after he'd done all the showbiz stuff and songwriting and vaudeville. In 1956, he wrote a book called Medical Relaxation. And I have to admit, this is the first time I remember at least hearing that one. The hypnotherapy book is what the Green Book is the one most people know about. He was writing books, for 20, 30 years while he was doing the hypnosis, and really influenced a lot of people. There is something called the ELMAN induction that ever since I've been a hypnotist for over 30 years has been taught as the ELMAN induction in various, of course, little variations that people tend to do differently depending. But I hadn't seen since COVID hit and everything started going online, and I started doing all my classes online, including the medical hypnotherapy training that I did, I was doing it alone that year, had to go online at the last minute because of COVID. And Michael Watson's the one who knew something about Zoom, and they were going to cancel the conference. I don't know if any of you were around for this. It was just weeks before when everything shut down because of COVID, and they were going to cancel the conference. They were going to have to cancel. I think it was being held in Daytona Beach at that point in Florida. And Michael Watson stepped up and said, you know, I've been doing stuff online, and I think I can carry this off. And just a very few weeks later, they did the entire conference online. I think I did a 2-day medical training that year. I didn't have time to even think about what was going to be different. So I was really skeptical about online stuff, I'll be honest with you. And after that, of course, I spend the entire pre, during, and post conference. I don't just do the weekend, and I did the 2 days of the medical. So I probably spent 6 days. When I wasn't teaching, I was online, you know, watching everybody else's seminars. And it went so amazingly, almost flawless, almost flawless. It was just, I was so impressed. By the end of those 5 or 6 days, however many it was, I was sold. I realized it's exactly the same, because again, the way that I think about all this work is that I am a facilitator. I'm a guide. I help the person to access within themselves what's going to make the difference and the change happen. So because of that, all of a sudden it hit me, and I said, well, of course it works online. I don't do anything to the person. I'm just guiding them and offering opportunities and possibilities and metaphors and symbolism and places for their creative unconscious to go to find their own answers, their own solutions, their own healing within themselves, all of those kind of things. So it was kind of after that, I thought, I don't know why I was ever skeptical of it, although I do still love being in a room with people, real humans in a room, live in person, which is why I go to the Hypno Expo every year still. Back to Dave Elman, Larry Elman's father. You know, this Elman induction, when I first started teaching it, the way I was taught the Elman induction and the way I had seen it from most people up to that point was confusing to me. By then I kind of got it, but to me, to teach it the way that I was taught and the way I saw other people doing it and teaching it was confusing to me, you know, from the standpoint of if I was a student, you know. So I started reworking it, even back when it was being done live. Once the online stuff started, I didn't see anybody doing the Elman induction. And if they did, it didn't make much sense because they were doing it the way it should be done live, but you can't lift up the person's arm because that's part of the induction. You kind of can't do that when you're online, you might notice. So I said, no, but I don't see anybody doing a write-up or a process that is designed to have those same elements, because it's not about, now this is coming from my belief system. So if you don't agree, that's fine. As long as you know why you don't agree, let me know and maybe you can help me to change my thinking. My thoughts are, it's not about the techniques, it's about the concepts. And I looked at each piece of the Elman induction, which each piece I've used separately in different areas, because it is kind of like sections that could be done in different ways, you know, in a different order, or just a piece of it, you know, separately with a client. And I started looking at it and I said, just what is the intention of each part of this induction? What is each part of the induction intended to create for the client? And once I looked at it from that frame of reference, it became very easy to make it doable online. It's just like, how do I get this same outcome, this same intention for what this section is meant to create for the client? How do I get that same thing to happen with a variation, with an online variation? And then it just flowed from there. So I don't know about you, and if you write scripts or if you write techniques or if you like to create things in hypnosis, I think writing scripts and creating techniques is a great creative exercise. Once the client is in front of me for the many, many years now, if not decades, and the way I teach my students to eventually get to the point where you don't follow a script or a technique or step 1, 2, 3 anymore. Because once you connect with your client, the session kind of takes on a life of its own, doesn't it? I'm sure most of you are aware of that. And if you can be flexible and go with what direction the client's unconscious mind seems to know that that person needs to go, and you can kind of shift gears, and like we did Faith in the class this past weekend, go on improv, do improv hypnosis, and let yourself be flexible, then you're going to be able to recreate and have the technique be specifically geared for that person that you are working with. And it won't ever be the same with any other person. It might be similar, but it won't be exactly the same. So that's kind of where I come from for all of this. So to me, it was easy to rewrite the ELMAN induction for online, because it's about guiding the person with an intention. Here's what I want to create, and help them create with this section. And here's what I want to help them create for themselves next and next and next. And then it just kind of wrote itself. Any comments or questions? Because I have something sort of planned to do, but I do freestyle here, and I like to go with the group. Any questions about this or comments about the ELMAN induction? Or maybe you have already done it online and found some variations of ways to do it. I don't know. But because I teach it in my hypnosis class, I was sort of forced to come up with a new way to teach it for online classes, right? Okay, nobody seems to have a question. So here's what I'm going to do. I think the best way to learn something is to experience it, especially when it comes to these kinds of things, hypnosis, right? So I'm going to ask you to have fun doing, if you have done the ELMAN induction in the past, it will seem familiar, hopefully, to you. And to have fun going through it in a new way, in a different way. And it'll be new and different, even if it's just because you are different and new today than you were the last time you did it. And I am different and new today than the last time I taught it or did it with someone. So it's always going to be different, and you can always learn something new from it. So with your permission, I will take you all through, and I'm going to tell you right now, I never have done it with a group. So I may have just dug a little hole for myself that I'm going to have to dig out of, but I like to do that because it forces me to get creative. You're all, running your own show anyway. So I trust all of you because you're all hypnotherapists, and I know that you all know how to do this anyway. So just listening to me as I guide you through it, give yourself permission to kind of just have fun and be playful and curious, and notice how your creative imagination, your beautiful unconscious mind that I call your unlimited mind, let it come up with maybe something that you wouldn't have thought you would do or think or experience during this little process. And just because many years ago, when I was demonstrating inductions with my hypnotherapy students, I heard myself say one day, you're going to teach an induction and then practice the induction. But my thought was always, why waste a good trance? If you're going to do the induction, you might as well have something to say once they're in there to not waste that beautiful space that you've created, right? So I'm going to go on improv again after I do the ELMAN induction, and we'll talk about it afterwards. Those of you who aren't familiar with it, I will explain where it ended and where I just took off. And I'm going to, as much as possible, this isn't easy for me, but as much as possible, I'm going to stay with the created variation that I wrote for online, so that when I send it to those of you who would like to get a typed up scripted version, that it will at least look familiar. Because if I let myself go to improv, you won't even recognize it when I send it to you, and I wouldn't want that to happen. So I'll invite you to, knowing that we are going to do this for some purpose. Otherwise, it's just meditation or just practicing something. And why waste a good trance? So just for a moment or two, while I'm setting this up for myself, think about something that's important in your life that you would like to have some movement or some progress with, or some change about. And just think of that thing that comes to your mind. Probably the first thing that comes to you might be the thing that is your creative unconscious says, I'd like to have some movement on this, or I'd like to get some resolution on something, or make a little progress on something. So let yourself come up with that intention for doing the ELMAN induction. And then I'll give you some very abstract little ideas, metaphors, maybe something that I will say afterwards that each of you individually, your creative mind can take off on and allow you to get some movement on the thing that you would like to do that with. So hopefully everybody's got something now. And I'm going to ask you all to allow yourself to be in a position where you can let your hands kind of rest in your lap and with your palms down. Or on, if you're at a desk, it could be on the table in front of you. That's fine too. And go ahead now and think about your intention, just to get it to the forefront of your mind, and notice how your mind thinks about it. Just make a mental note of it. And I always think it's nice to remind ourselves when we're going through a hypnotic process to, as much as possible, do it in the moment without judgment. So if something strange or unusual or something you don't understand comes into your mind, as long as it feels okay, just let it be there, even if you're not sure why it's there. That's just my recommendation. So sitting there with your hands, palms down in front of you somewhere. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to put your hand in front of and slightly above your eyes with your palm facing you. And if your eyes are open, you can see like this. In a moment, that's what I'm going to ask you to do. And you're going to be looking at your palm of your hand. And when I ask you to do so in a moment, you're going to look at your palm of your hand. And then I'm going to ask you to pass your hand down slowly in front of your eyes like this. And as your eyes follow your hand, you'll notice that it just, without moving your head, it will cause your eyes just to naturally come to a nice, relaxed, closed position just by doing that. And then you can let your hand once again rest on your lap or the table in front of you or whatever. After you close your eyes, you'll just let that hand rest again, palm down. And are you all ready? Yes, okay, good. So now go ahead and place your hand in front of and slightly above your eyes without raising your chin. So keep your head straight, but let your eyes focus on the palm of your hand, right there. And now begin to just slowly let that hand pass down in front of your face, following it with your eyes. And as you do that, just let your eyes close. That's right. Bring the hand down and let it just come to rest as your eyes come to rest, nicely closed, comfortably closed. And let your hand just come to rest in front of you again. And now your eyelids are closed. You're in charge of your experience. So let those eyelids be comfortably closed and go ahead and relax every tiny muscle and nerve in and around and behind your eyes. Go ahead and relax them. Your mind knows how to do this, and relax them so much that you're positive that they're so relaxed that they wouldn't even respond if you tried to open them. And just enjoy doing that now. Go ahead now and think about trying to open your eyes and notice that they can become so tired, so relaxed that they just don't want to open. It just would take too much effort to even try. So do this now. Think about it. This is easy. And when you know that you've relaxed them so far that they just don't want to open, then pretend that you are testing them gently to prove to yourself that you can imagine and pretend that they're so very tired that they just simply don't want to open. That's right. And notice that as long as you hold on to that relaxation, it's as if they simply don't open. Just enjoy what that's like to be that relaxed. That's right. So now you're doing so well, just following along, enjoying having this experience. Go ahead and stop doing anything now about your eyes. Just relax and allow yourself to go much deeper. Your mind knows how to do this. And holding on to that relaxation now, in and around your eyes. Go ahead and gently allow your eyes to open. Holding on to the relaxation, allow your eyes to open. And in a moment, I'm going to ask you to raise your right arm as if there was a string tied around your wrist that's lifting it up. As if a string around the wrist is just raising that arm up. And that hand and that arm can be completely limp, except for the wrist that rises up. And just allow your hand and your arm to just hang there, limp and loose. Let that right arm come up. Just as if there's a string around your wrist, and let your hand just kind of dangle there. Let your hand and your arm just dangle there. Just as if there's a string around the wrist and your arm is just hanging there, loose and limp. That's right. And when I tell you to drop it in a moment, not yet, when I tell you to drop it in a moment, you're going to let it drop gently back down to the desk or table in front of you or to your lap, wherever it was before. Let it drop like a wet washcloth, very gently. And when your hand does drop in a moment, not yet, when it drops down, allow your eyes to close again and allow that to send a wave of relaxation all the way from the top of your head down to the tips of your toes and double your level of relaxation. That's right. So now go ahead and raise your right hand, if it isn't already up there, and let it hang. Check it out and make sure there's no muscle tension except that string is just holding it up there loose. Allow it to just dangle. That's good. Now, when you drop it in a moment, let it drop like a limp, wet washcloth. And as it touches your body, close your eyes and send a wave of relaxation from the top of your head down to the tips of your toes. So now go ahead and let it drop. Just let it gently drop down. That's right. Very good. You're doing wonderfully. So now hold on to that relaxation that you have created for yourself. As you once again gently open your eyes, as you hold on to the relaxation, allow your eyes just to open just enough that you can kind of see again out in the outside world. And you're going to do that same thing now with your left arm. So now go ahead. You already know what to do and your mind knows how to do this. Now, even better. So go ahead and raise your left arm in the same way as if there's just a string around your wrist and test it to make sure it's just hanging there loose and limp. That limp wrist, your arm and your hand just dangling, just hanging there. That's very good. You're doing great. And this time when I tell you to drop it in a moment, let it drop like a limp, wet washcloth. And when it touches your lap, allow your eyes to close again and send another even greater wave of relaxation from the top of your head down to the tips of your toes and double or triple or quadruple your relaxation, whatever your mind finds enjoyable. So go ahead now and drop that hand. Let it drop gently down. That's right. And just send that wave. Let your eyes close. And send that wave of relaxation from the top of your head all through your body, all the way down to the tips of your fingers and the tips of your toes, relaxing every tiny muscle, bone, organ. With your eyes comfortably closed now, allow that wave to just flow through you, in you, around you, relaxing you even more and more. And now that you've relaxed your body, I'm going to show you how to relax your mind. So listen very carefully. In a moment, I'm going to ask all of you to begin counting backwards just silently out loud, whatever that means to you. You're going to count backwards, silently out loud from 100. Only I want you to do it in a very special way, like this. 100, deeper relaxed. 99, deeper relaxed. 98, deeper relaxed, and so on. And I'll be saying it with you. And at some point as we count, slowly, gently in this way, perhaps when we all reach 95 or 94, maybe even sooner, I'm not sure yet, at the most by 92, you can allow those numbers to just begin to fade and disappear. And we'll all do this together. Your mind knows how to do this. And you'll find that your mind has become so relaxed that you will just relax those numbers right out of your mind. So get ready now. And start with me now, out loud, silently. 100, deeper relaxed. Very slowly. 99, deeper relaxed. Slow them down even more. 98, deeper relaxed. Very good. Even slower, start to let them fade away. 97, deeper relaxed. Start relaxing them now, right out of your mind. 96, deeper relaxed. And make them now just start to disappear and fade away so that that next 9 number just fades off into the distance, relaxing it right out of your mind now. That's right. Just let those numbers fade right away, completely fading away. That's fine. And now you've relaxed your body. And now you have also relaxed your mind. And notice what you have done. You've put yourself into a wonderful, peaceful, relaxed, hypnotic state. So allow your mind in this place where your creative imagination has so much space and is so able to assist you with that goal, that intention that you started with. And allow it now to expand beyond you and your physical self, so that as your body remains relaxed as much as possible, knowing that your unconscious mind will always keep you supported, keep you safe, keep you as relaxed as you allow yourself to be. And give your creative unconscious now all the space it needs beyond the physical realm. Because in the imagination, there are no boundaries. It is truly unlimited. Your mind can go anywhere. Your thoughts can do anything. So let your mind and your thoughts and your creative imagination go to wherever it knows is most helpful for what you asked it to help you with, for what you have made your intention your goal. And for the rest of the time that you're here, even after you open your eyes in a few moments, you can be comfortable and wonderfully intentioned and expecting and knowing and trusting that that part of your mind that always wants what's best and right for you. As we finish this webinar, long after you open your eyes and even after you leave this experience here online and finish out the rest of your day or evening, and even as you fall asleep, the next time you go to sleep, your mind can take off and continue to assist you with this goal. That's right. You may want to bring it back into your awareness briefly as you drift off to sleep, reminding your mind to make further progress for you, to give you some new ideas, some creative solutions, answers, ideas. That's right. So bringing yourself back now into awareness of that relaxed body, as relaxed as you allowed and wanted it to be. And bring yourself back in the next 2 or 3 breaths, all on your own, because you know how to do this. That's right. Stretching is good. Yes. Jerry. Oh, it does feel good. Thank you. Oh, I'm following his lead there. So bring yourself back in the next couple of breaths and back out here with us so that we can talk a little bit before this very fast hour is over. Everybody come back. See, Jan doesn't want to come back because, and Ray, I know, I never want to come back. I used to joke with my students, but I realized I wasn't actually joking. I was, when I was doing the live seminars, when I still had my facility, and I heard myself say one day, my goal in life is to be in hypnosis 24 hours a day. And I started joking, and then I thought about it and I said, you know what, that's not a bad goal. Because if I'm in hypnosis 24 hours a day, the way I think about what hypnosis is focused, concentrated attention in the now moment that allows me to have access to all of my resources that are best suited for whatever's happening right now. And many times in the now moment, we have zero or little control over a lot that's going on out there. But guess what? In the moment, our creative unconscious knows we have 100% control over how we think about it. And how we think about it has everything to do with how we respond, right? How we act, how we behave. What can I do with this stuff that I can't change that person or this event? Your creative mind can say, what can I do with it? Right? Very nice. Because I go into trance when I do these things. So beautiful. Anybody like to share their experience? You're not required to. I'm glad I can see everybody today. I always like seeing faces. Anybody want to comment on that, or what that was like for you, or any ideas that it gave you already? Jerry, yes.
It was astounding, that thing when you said about your eyes being so relaxed that you really couldn't open them. I mean, that was like, wow, that was so easy, but so powerful. I was amazed. I loved it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that the wording is definitely different than the way I was taught for many, many years about the eyes are stuck closed or super glued and all that stuff. And the way that I evolved it through the years, and I'm always evolving these things as the years go on, is that it's not about, it's the words, the subtext of the words at the unconscious level is what I'm thinking of. It's not that I can't open my eyes. Of course I can open my eyes. It's that they don't want to open because it's so relaxing just to keep them closed, right? And it makes more sense. But if I say you can't open them, some people, my brother, unfortunately, I tested that for the first time decades ago with my brother, my big brother. Wasn't the best person to practice that kind of thing with, because when I said, and your eyes are stuck closed, glued closed, and when you try to open them in a minute, they just won't open. So go ahead and try to open your eyes. And he went, and he looked at me like I was stupid, and he made a face. And I thought, okay, that didn't go very well. So I thought we need to change how we say this, but thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yeah, I do this a lot. I'm always wanting to finesse the language. Yeah, Laura.
So I was confused. So when you started off, you did the thing in front of your eyes, and I totally got that. And to bring it down, it's like your eyes follow it. But if I'm not mistaken, you asked me later on to open my eyes.
Yes, I did.
That's where it brought me out of trance. So is that intentional?
It brought you out of trance. Oh,
absolutely. Absolutely. That's why I just gave up, because and also I wouldn't do it. The order confused me. You did the countdown and I was like, why didn't she start with the countdown?
Because that's not the ELMAN induction. I wanted to keep it as, I tried to keep it, I want to teach, when I teach an induction that's called the ELMAN induction, I want to keep as close as possible to honor Dave Elman. So that's why it's last.
No, that's and you know what? I didn't realize this. I use every single one of these components.
Yeah.
Hypnosis.
That's why I said each piece could be used by itself, right? The eyes closed, not wanting to open. That could be a whole separate thing. You could just do it by itself. The arm drop that we do when it's live, or holding the arm up. It's any of those pieces. That's why I said I broke it down to sections from when I teach it, because the way I was taught, it was all a blur to me. It didn't make any sense. And the only part I could ever remember is counting backwards. That's the only part that I ever remembered about the ELMAN induction. It was just a blur. So I break it into sections, but that is the sequence.
It felt out of order. Like it brought me out, like I couldn't stay in trance when I had to open my eyes and close my eyes. Well, just relax.
Yeah. And you're always in control of what you do or what you just don't feel like doing. And your mind just didn't feel like doing that. So that's fine. And if you do.
And I go under trance like that, because before you had me open the eyes, I could feel the whoosh. I could feel all of myself go down. And then you go open your eyes and I was like, oh, that'll bring me out of trance.
Well, do you know does anyone know what that's called, by the way? That's very intentional. In this induction, you open your eyes, I think it's at least 3 times.
Yeah.
Right? Now I know, Faith, I know you know what that's called. Ray, I know you know because you went through my training. You know what that's called, right? It's a deepening technique.
Fractionation.
Called fractionation. I'll let you off the hook. It's called fractionation, where you get the person into a certain level of hypnosis, then you have them open their eyes. And the ELMAN induction, he does it in a way that's, there's many ways. There's as many ways to do all these things as there are us, which is why it's nice. You make it your own. You'll have your own unique way of doing all of these things, right? The way I approach, if something hits me in the middle of someone teaching me something that I haven't done before, and I'm going, I wouldn't do that, or this isn't getting me. I don't give advice, but my recommendation, coming from a trainer of hypnosis and a student, a lifelong student of hypnosis, because sometimes I take classes still that I go, okay, this is a little weird. I don't know about this. And I say, let that go and just go with it. Just pretend and go through it anyway and see what happens. That's just my recommendation. Some people, but again, you're in charge. See, I always say hypnosis isn't about limiting your choices. It's about giving you more choice. So you are always in control of whether you want to play along or not. If you don't play along, then that's absolutely your right, and I honor it. So anybody else have a comment or something that, Faith?
I believe in his original induction, I think he had the eyes open and closed, I think 6 times. And a lot of
like I said, there's a lot of variations of this. Yeah.
So I absolutely loved your eyes. Like, think about them being closed. I loved how you did that. I just,
well, that's hypnotic language, right? Hopefully in your training you all learned.
It was so permissive and different from like how I've been trained. Open them, then
because this came from the old school, which was direct suggestion, because they were all stage hypnotists back then, right? Including Dave Elman. Yeah. So, I refined the language to make it more effective. because when I learned it, it was weird for me too. Your eyes are stuck closed. They used to say super, but to me, the language can be, but the sequence, I'm teaching this as the Dave Elman technique. So the sequence is, first of all, let's see, what's the first thing is the hand pass, right? Which some people do an induction that is just the hand pass. You can do it very slowly, and you can give all kinds of great hypnotic language on the way down, and as you stare at the palm of that hand, and the longer you stare at the palm of that hand, the more your eyes just are getting tired and you're starting to lose focus. Now, perhaps as your hand is coming down, you're starting to let go, and now just close your eyes and let go completely. You can do it very slow. You can do it, take 5 minutes, give all kinds of good suggestions. But the Dave Elman technique starts with the hand pass. Then it does the arm drop, first one arm and then the other arm. There's an intention for each section. I'm sorry, then the eyes stuck closed. So it's the hand pass, then the eyes won't open, and then the arm drop. So that's third step. And the fourth step is the numbers disappearing. So there's 4 steps. And that's why I broke it down. Like I said, it's confusing to me, the way I was taught by many people through the years before I came up with this. So when I teach my students, I break it up into those 4 sections. And any one of those sections, as Laura was saying, you can use one of those sections, and I do many times, in just completely out of context. So again, did Dave Elman really invent this induction? Or like all of us, did he learn a whole bunch of stuff or discover a bunch of things from his mentors and from his probably clients as well, that then he formulated and said, oh, there's this thing, and then there's this next thing, and I'll just make it into one process. And he reinvented it and repackaged maybe something that everybody was already doing anyway. Because I know when I studied in Arizona with Dr. Michael Preston, he was my first medical hypnotherapy teacher. I met him my first year in the field, 1992. And I studied with him a lot. I took a lot of trips from LA, Los Angeles to Arizona for sometimes 4 or 5 day training. Sometimes it was a 2-week training. A lot of money in those days. You had to travel and pay for hotels, and it was expensive. So I had to have 2 or 3 jobs usually to do all this. And but what he talked about in his library technique, which he has a whole book called Hypnosis, Medicine of the Mind. And I studied with him so much. His language was so great. And I have updated some of it a little bit, but his language patterns were so great. The induction for his technique of the library technique, he does a thing about counting backwards from 100. And when I went to study with him, I had already taken my training. I took every training I could find, and I said, oh, that's what they did in that other induction. I probably didn't remember even what it was called yet. It was the ELMAN induction. So it's not like somebody owns these things. It's people discover this seems to work for what I intend to have happen here. Fractionation is intended to fatigue the eyes and actually to create intentionally a little bit of tension, a little bit of anxiety of, I don't want my eyes to open anymore. My eyes are tired of, you're telling me to open them, like Faith, if it is 6 times, oh my gosh, by the 2nd or 3rd time, I don't want to open them. So if you're making the person try to open their eyes, at some point their eyes won't open. So that might be why he did that. But the idea is fractionation, because if you make them open their eyes when they're really kind of not wanting to, then the next time they close their eyes, there's that built up tension and there's a release, right? Because they don't want to keep their eyes open. The release is the deepener. And that's why fractionation can be used as a deepener. Can also be used as an induction. Then don't get caught up in labels. Headlines, I always say, look past the labels at the subtext. Faith, you heard me. Ray, you've heard me say that many, 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 many times in the trainings you've had with me. Look for the meaning behind the words. And when you're learning a technique, look for what is the purpose? Why is it done that way? Because you were a group, I had myself saying the numbers. When I'm with one-on-one, I don't do that. I get them to say the numbers. And if they're saying them too fast, in between the numbers, I'll say, slow it down, even slower. I'm not saying the numbers with them. And at some point, they'll just stop usually. Because if you set it up right, the number thing, and you've set it up, I don't know permissive language. It gives the person all the space they need to make their own choices, their unconscious mind. By then they've already done all that other stuff. So they're pretty relaxed. And if you say in the setup, in a moment, I'm going to ask you to, that's a hypnotic language pattern. You all hopefully learned that in a moment, I will this and you will that. In a moment, I will X and you will Y, as is in the books. That's a language pattern. It's very powerful because you're setting it up for the person's unconscious mind and you're giving them permissive suggestions. You're planting seeds, covert suggestions, embedded commands, whatever you want to call them, that in a moment when I do this, I don't know if your numbers will start to disappear by 95, maybe as early as 98. And definitely, probably by the time you get to 92, those numbers are just going to be just disappearing out. You're setting it up so that's the setup. The mind gets it. They're already there because you've already done all this other stuff. So if you dissect it, and in our class, faith, I used a term that I had never used before in one of our processes where I was explaining, or at least doing my best to explain why it's done the way it's done. And I said, let's reverse engineer it. I used that term. Let's look at what's the outcome, or maybe that was in a process I did with you guys. Anyway, sometime in the last couple of 2 or 3 weeks, I said that because I said, think about what was the intention starting out. What is the result you're looking for? And then what is it going to take to end up there? And if you do it that way with some of these great teachers of the past, even if the language is a little dated, like I said, I updated the language. Even if, the language is dated, or even the techniques are a little schmaltzy or sticky. I call them shtick, these old, direct suggestion, stage hypnotists. And there's still a lot of them out there. And, I think they're fun to watch. And, play along and you'll get something. Because again, it's not, the hypnotist isn't doing it for you anyway. If you think you're the one giving your client the answers, then go be a psychotherapist, please. They're the ones that like to give advice and think they know what the client should do or ought to do or ought not to do or should stop doing. That's why it's psychotherapy. Boy, they can make a living for decades because the unconscious mind doesn't like to be told what to do. It already knows what needs to be done. And if you start dictating to it, it gets kind of stubborn. It can get stubborn, because that's cognitive, that's free. I mean, that's willpower, that's conscious. And if somebody's going to do that, like I said, you can go in therapy for years or decades and make somebody rich. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, when people come to me, I tell them my goal is most things in 3 sessions, for most things, even medical. They're off on their own doing the self-hypnosis. I said, my goal is you never need to come back and see me again. How many doctors and therapists say that? It's like, because they're the one doing it anyway. I'm just showing them how to do it, how to connect with their inner creative unconscious mind, their inner healer, their inner spiritual self, whatever it is, it's already inside of them. And if it isn't, I'm not the person, the deity that can give it to them. At least not that I know about anyway. So not that I'm aware of. But magic can happen, right? Anyway, I kind of went off on a tirade there, but that's what I do. Oh, gee, this hour goes fast. Anybody else want to share something or any more comments or anything? Thank you, Jerry, for those wonderful, nice words. And I hope you all had a nice experience. And Lara, you might want to play with that and just play along and see what happens.
Well, I have a lot of David Elman materials from my training, and I'm good. When we get off this call, I'm going to go dig them out.
Oh, yeah. Because I know the Betty Erickson self-hypnosis technique. I'm told she just did what she did, and somebody watched her and formulated it out so they could teach it to other people. And she probably only did it that way one time, that they happened to be there watching, So, because most hypnotists, they go on automatic and they won't do it the same way the next time. And it probably would be a different sequence. Like you said, maybe next time Dave Elman started with the numbers and then he did something different, But somebody thought that was his technique. So anyway, but uphypnosis@yahoo.com if you want my handout of the script for this. The script is scripted out, by the way, for one person, for one-on-one. I adjusted it because I'm doing a group here. And I hope to see you all soon. And please come back and see me. Thank you all for being here.